The banging started just after sunset. I was fixing a broken latch on the cabin door when I heard her voice. Sharp, bossy, the kind that carried through walls. "Open this gate right now! My guests need parking space!" I looked up from the porch. There she was, Karen. Big sunglasses, clipboard in hand, 3 SUVs idling behind her. A line of well-dressed people stood waiting, staring like they owned the place. I walked down slowly. "Ma'am, this is private property. The public beach entrance is half a mile down the road." She scoffed, tapping the gate with her pen. "This used to be community access before you moved in and locked everyone out. You're blocking HOA guests from enjoying the beach." I kept my voice calm. I bought this cabin legally. That gate's staying closed. Her jaw tightened. "Excuse me? You think you can ignore HOA rules? I am the HOA president." "That's nice, but this land isn't under your HOA anymore." The way her face twitched, like I'd insulted her in front of royalty, told me she wasn't used to hearing no. "You're making a big mistake," she snapped. "Either open that gate or I'll have the police handle it." I shrugged. "Call 'em. I'll wait." For a moment's silence. Then she turned to her guests, forcing a fake smile. "Sorry, everyone. Just a little mix-up. He's new here." One man whispered something, and I caught it. What's his problem? I wanted to ignore it, but Karen wasn't done. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You don't understand how this works, do you? People around here listen to me. You'll be gone before summer." I smiled faintly. "We'll see." Her eyes flashed. She pulled out her phone, hit record, and started shouting like a drama queen. "This man is harassing me on community property. He's threatening HOA members." I just stood there, arms crossed. "You sure you want to keep filming? Because my cameras have been running since you pulled up." The confidence drained right out of her face. You're recording me?" "Every second. And unless you want to explain to the real cops why you're trespassing with a crowd, I suggest you all leave. Now." Her guests started backing up. One woman muttered, "Karen, let's just go." But Karen wasn't ready to quit. "You'll regret this," she yelled, slamming her hand on the gate before storming off. The SUVs roared to life, tires spinning sand into the air. I stood there watching the dust settle, thinking it was finally over. But an hour later, I got an alert on my phone. Motion detected at the back of the property. And when I checked the camera feed, my stomach sank. Karen's car was back, headlights off, and she wasn't alone this time.
The camera feed flickered in the dark, but I could still make out the figures, 3 of them. Karen stood near the old dock, whispering to 2 men I didn't recognize. One held a flashlight, the other a crowbar. My gut twisted. They weren't here to argue this time. I stepped out quietly, keeping the porch lights off. The night air was heavy with the smell of salt and wet wood. From where I stood, I could hear Karen's voice, sharp but hushed. "Just pry the latch open," she said. "We'll say it was damaged before. My guests are arriving tomorrow, and I'm not letting that gate stay shut." One of the men grumbled, "Lady, this is breaking and entering." Karen's tone snapped. "It's community property. I'm the HOA president. I'm authorizing it." I couldn't help but smile bitterly. She really believed she was untouchable. I hit record on my phone, zoomed in, and caught everything. Then I spoke, loud and clear. "You might want to check your definition of community property, Karen." They froze. Flashlights swung toward me. She squinted through the dark. "You're still awake?" she said. "Hard to sleep with people breaking into my land," I said. "Step away from the gate." Karen straightened, brushing off her jacket. "Oh, don't be dramatic. We're just making sure the path stays open for everyone." "With a crowbar?" I asked. Her lips tightened. "You can't record us. This is harassment." "Funny," I said. "You were the one who started filming me earlier. Difference is, my footage going to the sheriff's office." The two men exchanged nervous looks. One muttered, "I told you this was a bad idea." Karen spun on them. "Don't you dare back out now." That's when the floodlights on the dock flicked on automatically, motion sensors. The whole scene lit up like a stage. Karen's eyes widened as she realized she was caught crystal clear on every camera I'd installed. "Smile," I said softly. "You're on 8 angles of trespassing footage." She started yelling nonsense about HOA rights, property rules, and lawsuits, but the men didn't wait. They got in her car and drove off, leaving her standing there alone. She turned toward me, voice shaking with fury. "You have no idea who you're messing with." I stepped closer. "Neither do you." For a moment, we just stared at each other, the waves crashing behind us. Then she stormed off into the night, heels sinking into the sand. I stood there, still recording, but something told me this was just the opening act. Because Karen wasn't the kind of person who backed down. She was the kind who escalated. And by morning, she'd prove it. By sunrise, the beach looked calm again, but that calm was fake, the kind that hides a storm. I walked down to check the gate and found a fresh paper taped to it, flapping in the wind. "Notice of community violation. Immediate compliance required." No signature, no seal. Just big, bold letters meant to scare me. I tore it down and crumpled it in my hand. She was getting desperate. I didn't even have time to breathe before a silver Lexus rolled up, tires crunching over gravel. Karen stepped out wearing a blazer this time, like she'd dressed for court. 2 uniformed men followed her, both carrying clipboards. She smiled that fake, tight smile. "Morning, Ben. These are HOA enforcement officers. We're here to document your non-compliance and issue penalties." I crossed my arms. "You mean trespass again?" Her smirk didn't even falter. "We don't need permission to inspect community assets. This isn't your community. It's private land. You're standing on my sand." The taller man cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I think this is county property, not—" Karen cut him off with a glare. "I checked the maps. This section was always part of the HOA zone until this man here started altering boundaries." I couldn't believe the nerve. "You're saying I altered maps?" She folded her arms, smug. "Exactly. We'll report it as tampering with county property. You could lose everything." For a moment, I felt that familiar pulse of anger rise. Then I smiled. "You know, Karen, it's funny you mentioned county records." Her eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "Because the county already flagged someone for missing land transfer files last month. Guess whose name came up?" Her fake smile faltered for the first time. "You're bluffing." I stepped closer, my voice low. "I know about Bowman, and I know you've been using his credentials to fake HOA notices." Her face went pale. You can't prove that." I lifted my phone. "Already did. Every fake paper you left, every call you made, it's all backed up." The 2 officers exchanged uneasy looks. One finally spoke up. "Ma'am, maybe we should double-check this before—" "Quiet!" she snapped. "He's manipulating you." She turned back to me, eyes blazing. "You think you've won? You don't belong here, Ben. People like you ruin communities." That line stung more than it should have. But I didn't react. I just pointed behind her. A county sheriff's SUV was pulling up the road. Karen's face drained of color as the deputy stepped out. "Morning, folks. Got a report of harassment and forged legal documents. Anyone here named Karen Walters?" For a split second, she looked like she might faint. I just smiled faintly and said, "She's been expecting you."
Karen froze, her hand half raised, like she couldn't decide whether to argue or run. The deputy adjusted his hat, calm but sharp. "Ma'am, I'm going to need to ask you a few questions about some paperwork that came through our office." Karen tried to laugh it off.
This is all a misunderstanding. This man, Ben, has been blocking community property. We were just enforcing HOA policy. The deputy looked at me. You got ownership proof, sir? Without a word, I handed him the folder I always kept ready. The deed, tax receipts, and a printed copy of the county zoning map. He skimmed through them, nodded once, and said, "Everything looks in order." Then he turned to Karen. "Thing is, ma'am, this land hasn't been HOA territory for over 10 years, and we've had reports of someone using false county seals to post notices. You know anything about that?" Karen's voice cracked. "Of course not. Someone must have—" The deputy cut her off gently. "Funny. The documents we got were traced to a printer registered to your HOA office." For a moment, no one said a word. The sea wind pushed across the sand, rattling the metal gate behind me. Karen's face went bright red, then white. "You can't arrest me for doing my job." "Ma'am," the deputy said, "nobody's talking about arrest yet, but we'll need you to come down to the station for a statement." She took a shaky step back. "You can't do this. I built this community. These people trust me." The two so-called officers who came with her were already backing away, mumbling something about not being involved. One of them whispered, "We didn't know, we'd just follow orders." I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Karen's hands trembled as she pointed at me. "You set me up. You think you're some kind of hero?" I met her stare. "No, I just wanted to live in peace." The deputy motioned her to follow him, but she didn't move. Instead, she looked past him at the beach, her voice cracking. "You'll see. None of this will last. You'll lose it all." The deputy sighed. "Ma'am, let's not make this harder." Finally, she turned and walked toward her car, head down, shoulders stiff. As they drove off, I stood there in the wind, the ocean roaring behind me. It should have felt like victory, but something about her last words stuck in my mind. "You'll lose it all." That night, I couldn't sleep. Around midnight, my motion sensor pinged again. Only this time, it wasn't Karen. It was someone else, standing by the same old dock, shining a light into the sand, right where that rusted hatch had been half buried weeks ago.